What's good? What's good? What's good? Welcome to the Passport Bros podcast. Saturday night. Saturday night, man. Let me know who in the building. Let me know who in the building. Yeah, I wasn't even planning on doing a stream tonight. I'm actually I'm actually at work, but I'm like, man, ain't nobody really talking about shit. So I said, let me hop on, man, and see who out there, man, and who wanna chime in or come up. I'm gonna make it an open panel. Let me drop a link real quick. Just in case, man. Just trying to chop it up, man. Got a flight in the morning. So I dropped the link just in case somebody want to come up, man. But yeah, man, super bored tonight, man. It feel weird as hell. So I guess it's on time for me to be traveling, man. So it's probably gonna be my last time traveling to these particular cities in Colombia. So I'm gonna try to give y'all day to day when I'm out there, man. Let y'all know what it's hitting for. So yeah, I want to, kind of want to get people opinion and talk about, being broke overseas. I've been hearing a lot about certain people and what they may be going on with them. Not trying to pocket watch, but I think there's the responsibility when it comes to influencing guys, especially the younger guys. Don't want guys thinking they can, just drop everything they're doing in the US and just trying to figure out. And YouTube ain't really guaranteed. It's like going to the league, man. I think a lot of people, a lot of content creators don't really emphasize that. Making it big financially on YouTube is like making it or going to the league. What I mean? It's only going to be a small percentage that's really going to be getting to the money like that. You know what I mean? So for some people, it's a side hustle. Some people, it's a full time thing. And a lot of people have put all their eggs in one basket trying to figure it out. So let me know what y'all think, man, about is it cool being a broke passport bro expat overseas? What I mean? I don't think it's cool at all. Um, so we've had conversations about, you know, how how bad the U.S. is when it comes to certain things, culture wise, socioeconomically wise. But some guys say, it's better for them to be overseas, even making less money, which I can understand. You can make less money, but you can still live a comfortable lifestyle overseas. So I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about guys actually like struggling overseas because I find it ironic that you have a lot of immigrants that come to the United States, and sometimes I question immigrants coming to the United States because I'm like, well, the United States not easy. A lot of people come to the U.S. and they don't have degrees, they don't have certain experience, and they're not gonna in the professional jobs, they're not gonna out compete Americans. So I'm like, they just come in here to be a broke American or a poor American. But then I have to tell myself like, well, is it for the immigrants, is it better to be poor in the United States or poor in Africa or poor in um, Asia or even Latin America? So I can't concede to say, you know what, I could understand that for a lot of people, they'll rather be poor in the United States than to be poor in their country. Fair enough. Now, it's not making any sense to be an American and to say, well, I would rather be poor overseas than poor in the US. That's not logical. Because a lot of things that, most guys, want to be able to date and to have a normal relationship with women overseas, and you still need money for that. You still need money for that. you know um so we really have to dig and start figuring out what's going on. Why there's a reason why there are some guys that aren't in the US. Maybe they can't go back to the US. Maybe they got warrants. Maybe they got other things going on. So just because they're an expat and live overseas, that doesn't mean that they have this perfect life where they got all these things in order. You know what I mean? It might be a lot of guys that just can't come back for whatever reason. Well, they don't have nothing to come back to. Whether it's family, they don't have no family, nowhere to stay, and things like that. So there's I'm sure there's a lot of sad realities with a lot of guys. This is why um a lot of people feel like when it comes to people on YouTube, they feel like it's too many people on YouTube and there should be more uh role models. I mean, entertainment is cool. Entertainment has its place. But that needs to be balanced with role models, and people, younger generations can emulate and follow the playbook. You know, when I started coming up in the travel game, I was around some OGs that had cribs in DR. They had business credit, and they was just talking about, if you want to live overseas, you got to have this established in the United States. And I mean, I really wasn't paying attention at first because I'm like, well, I want to live overseas. I want to have this. I want to have that. But I really didn't have a roadmap to get to that end goal. But everything I figured out, it started, everybody that's successful overseas, they had things successful in the United States, you know, and now trying to figure it out. Because if you depend on YouTube, what happens if, you know, YouTube start tripping, they take things away, things slow down. What are you gonna do? That's a lot of pressure, you know. Um, and some people probably need to come back home. Some people probably need to come back to the United States and figure it out. There's been some guys, I can't remember who, but I know some guys that say, you know what, I have to come back to the US and stack and, you know, go back to school or get certifications and things like that. And sometimes you gotta do that and regroup. You know, um, Africa is super expensive. One of the poorest. I ain't gonna say poor, but some of the weakest economies are in Africa, and that's so expensive. I tried being over there for an extended amount of time. I mean, I came out of like 5 G's in like a month, a little bit over a month. And I'm like, man, I couldn't keep this pace up, especially if I got bills in the US. So it's not sweet. And then on top of that, if you got a girlfriend or dating, if you ain't got money coming in, you pretty much you're not really putting yourself a step ahead of the locals. Because now a chick is looking at you like, well, you just as broke as my local counterpart. So what I mean? So you can't really, you competing with the locals. And not a time and a lot of times that's not really what it was supposed to be about. Um, the Passport Bro movement is not about the Passport Bro movement is not about being an expat. Expats are they relocated. You know what I mean? Passport Bros are people that's using a passport to figure stuff out, traveling and stuff like that. An expat, he already done figured everything out. You know what I mean? To me, an expat is a retired passport bro. You know, so I think I think expats, and one of my other guys said this too, because he's a. There's a lot of guys that are just pro expat. They only care about content creators or conversations in relation to living in another country. Some people don't really subscribe to traveling and coming back, long distance dating, pipelining. Some people don't really care about that. So, I kind of feel like, you know, expats and passport bros should be kind of separated because it's once you establish somewhere, like the thrill of the chase is gone. Like the passport bro movement is about exploring, figuring things out. It's the research part, it's the learning about yourself part, and then deciding if you want to be a expat, and if so, where. OW504 said broke and expat in the same sentence equals homelessness. Yeah, I've been hearing stories about that. Somebody, I don't know what channel I was watching, but somebody had described in Thailand that there was some white guys talking. They was talking about in some of the other parts of Isan. He was saying like he was describing Isan. He was saying like it's like old white guys. They pretty much on their last leg of life, and they living in shared rooms. Um, they living like a poor Thai person. You know what I mean? They just like you know they living on their last leg just to be in Thailand, just to have access to whatever woman they can get. And they said it's a shame. Imagine just being retired. They probably done milked out their pension, or they probably getting social security for a couple hundred a month, and you living in rooms just to be close to some twain. That's it's crazy, man. Some people willing to be homeless, man, to get a nut. Salute Rona Travelers, man. What's good, bro? Global Paper said too many young dudes traveling with no guidance, no education, no experience, giving people advice. 90% of black men YouTubers and the travel game has become corny. Yeah, it has. It has. Buck Travel said you need multiple streams of income or have a couple of million in retirement and investment accounts to really do that. Expat, good life. Someone is selling dreams to these guys. Yeah, but all the blame can go on the creators. There's accountability on the subscribers too. Like if you're subscribing to low standards, if you're not subscribing to excellence, you are part of the problem in a lot of ways. Now, yeah, we all want to subscribe to entertainment, and some people want to see people just crash out. They want to see people crash out. They want to see like people go from start from nothing, then get to this high point, and then crash out. Some people just want to see that ride. But I always been about giving information, exploring your options, and just have fun doing it, and doing it in good taste. Doing it in good taste, and trying to keep a good reputation on this cultural movement or cultural phenomenon, called the Passport Bros. You know, yeah, there's things I hear and see, and I just shake my head, man. I just shake my head. Um, you know, Global Paper said Passport Bros. I will be honest, I used to think you were corny. However, I had gained respect for you when you admitted going to high end spot in Brazil and getting girls is not easy and not free. Thank you. Oh man, salute, man. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, man. Sometimes it takes time, man, to really see who real, see who fake, see who grifting, see who lying. It takes time, man. But everybody, from what you see, what y'all see in the YouTube, like a lot of people, hands is revealed. You know, you start to see how people grew up, raised, and you start connecting the dots. You like, damn. You start connecting the dots. So it does take time. Travel Money said living overseas for half the year seems more realistic than becoming a full time. Yeah, that I agree. I agree. I agree. That's more optimal for me. 6 months in the States, 6 months overseas. It doesn't have to be continuous. I could split it up how I want to, but that seems more realistic, especially if you are still young and got things going on in the U.S. It has taken me a while, and I've been traveling hard since 2016, and it take a long time to identify one or two countries that you can see yourself build with. Laws change with Colombia. The pandemic changed things, and I learned a lot about these countries. Dating and relationships, you learn a lot too. So it does take time to identify, a place. If you want to be an expat. Not everybody wants to be an expat. Most people can't be an expat. I know a lot of guys that preach IT. This is another thing too, man. You got guys, and no shade, man, but you got guys 50s, 60s talking about they trying to get some certification, and it's like, come on, man. Come on, man. You know, anybody that went to college, salute style, can anybody that went to college like myself, I realized that some of this, it's worth it because because obviously I could get employed from that, but getting like all these different degrees, it was a waste of money. What I mean? I got 2 degrees and I only used one. You know, so I mean, I'm grateful that I did, but if I have to take on uh, a third trade to learn, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Either one of the degrees I earned gotta support me, whether it's a job or whether it's starting my own business. I am not gonna reinvent myself at an old age and then put myself in an entry level situation. Buck said I said this on his panel and told him, but BMT is grifting and selling dreams to his audience, and so is Skylar. Well, I say at least Skylar to the money though. Skylar, he is to the money. He's I won't. I'll say this. Now I got on Skylar about not mentioning the cons of Brazil. You know, just mentioning the positives. But Skylar to the money. You know what I mean? He got like and this is public. You know, I went to his Patreon. He got over 500 Patreon members at like at least $5 a month. So he making at least 2 to 3 thousand just on Patreon. And he's a retired military with full benefits, and he's still young. So he got it going on. His dream is a reality. You know what I mean? Now, can his dream be duplicated? Yeah, yes. For younger guys, if, if he want to say, go to the military, you don't have to go. You don't have to go the full 20. You can do reserves, or you can go full time. Do that, and you know, whether you go to school or start a business, whatever. Like he's qualified to lead young men. He's qualified to lead young men. I will say that. OW 504, he said 500K, a few REITs, dividend stocks, and three doors could have a decent life abroad. Style King, salute, salute. Buck said most guys don't have the skill set to become digital nomads. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I took some IT courses, some programming courses. That shit hard, bro. I mean, I was taking like C plus plus. That was hard for me, but but if you like in your late 40s, 50s, like it doesn't make sense to try to go through an IT process, and then you're gonna be entry level. Even if you finish, you're gonna be entry level. Then you got to get work experience. Then you're gonna and then trying to get remote work. Everybody want to work remote. It just doesn't make sense. Sometimes, and I'm in my young 40s. Sometimes you have to tell yourself like, man, I just missed that. I missed out. I need to focus on things I can do in my certain time in my life. Sometimes you missed out. I missed out on some things. If I could go back in time, I would have pursued certain things. But hey, we have to be real with ourselves when it comes to a lot of those things, man. But um, even military. So let's just kind of break down the most common expats, retired military, um, in IT, right? So military, I thought about going to military. I could still make the cutoff for Air Force if I wanted to. Um, I try. Guys don't know this, but the Space Force is is a good option. Currently, the Space Force does not do deployment, so everything you do is going to be based in the U.S. So, and I think the cutoff is like 42. So, you know, there is military options. Get in, get out. Um, I kind of wish I would have thought about it during the pandemic. The pandemic pretty much slowed everybody down. You would have got basic training out the way, and then the pandemic ended in what 2021. This week 2024. Yeah, you probably be completed or almost finished if you went full time. If you went full time, um, so the military is probably a easier option than trying to pursue an IT. So that's something. But for the older guys, over 40, that military window door is closed, and I think learning, trying to get into a new field in IT is doable, but it's not really, it's not really time efficient with your time, with your time. For most people, I mean, there's always going to be exceptions to the rules. Real estate, yeah. Let me get to that because real estate, that is a good option. That is a good option. He said you would have to be forced to take the job. You would be okay to take the job in the military. Christopher Word said, you have guys who have been to the same city in DR Columbia over a dozen times each and don't own properties there nor have a business there. They're going all the time for pleasure only. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Like I said, not not trying to passport police. You can travel how you want to travel. But like people was mentioning in the other streams, like what is the end game? What is I mean, what's the fulfillment side? Because I know myself, I went from traveling 3 times a year to 6 times a year to upwards to 9 times a year. And you'll come back to the US and you drained, you feel relaxed, relieved, and you good. You thinking like, all right, I don't need to travel in like another 2 or 3 months. But after 2 weeks, you back having withdrawal symptoms again. It becomes like this addictive high. And so now, me and my guys, we'll laugh about this because because a lot of us we just work and go home, work, go home, work, go home. And they be like, man, what you doing right now, man? Hey, what you doing right now, man? Be like, man, looking up flights. All y'all can probably relate to this, right? What you doing, bro, man? Looking up flights, looking up flights. You know what I mean? So it's fun. It's fun, it's fun, but in the reality is like you will never be, it's a you never fulfill. You're never fulfilled. You know what I mean? And it's like I said, since 2016, you can go somewhere, relieve yourself, come back, do it all over again. You will never be fulfilled. What I mean? At least until you live in a country that you love. So like Christopher said, man, you have to start building. This is some of what the OGs. This is the thing about me. I listened to the older guys that was doing. I listened to them, and they had receipts. I listened to them and had receipts. And so I was in this WhatsApp group. It was me. Um, Rest in peace to my man Kwame. Dean Cole was in the group. Those who know Dean Cole, and a couple other travelers, things like that. So we was in this group called Level Up, and his brother we was talking about you know having real estate or business overseas. And the first thing is like, how can I get money? Because if you work in a 9 to 5, like it's hard to, what I mean, it's hard to save up money. And some people leverage credit to get it, but we like, man, I don't got the money, nor I got the credit to buy a crib overseas. And this was at the time where you could get stuff. You could have got something in Colombia for like 25 to 30,000 in Medellin. It's crazy now, but and so the older brother used to say, man, get your personal credit right. You know what I mean? You need to buy a crib in the United States, then generate a rental income, leverage your rental income and your personal credit to get business credit. You know what I mean? And so, I learned the game, figured out the game like that. You know what I mean? It's easy. It's not rocket scientist, but Dean Cole, he leveraged his personal credit to build business credit, and that's when he was able to buy, his restaurant that he had in DR and other businesses. I knew, it was There's a guy I know in Medellin. He bought his first condo using his credit card. You know what I mean? I think he mentioned he had like two credit cards, maybe like 15,000 each, and he probably pulled 10,000 from each card and bought a crib using that. You know what I mean? So you have to you have to be able to start there. You know what I mean? Like guys like Taylor Made Dreams, got a good retirement and took care of his business, you know, for his life. And so once he got to an age where he can retire and liquidate, he good. You know what I mean? But everything is a process. Coach Lamont said if you 40 or older, get Twit card, try Maritime Merchants. Okay. Man, maybe somebody could come up and talk about it, man. Let me drop the link again. Global Paper said, Passport Bros, let's cut to the chase. These YouTubers are chasing PUSY. If you don't have an education and the money coming in, living off 3K a month in a third world country is not living. It's not living. It's not living, especially if I thought about it, right? I had to think about it like this, right? Now I make good money in the US and I make enough money that I could afford to buy $1,000 plane ticket to go somewhere, right? Now, yes, if I lived in Colombia, and let's just say I was making 30,000 a year in Colombia, yeah, I could probably live a comfortable life in Colombia, but I can't afford to spend $1,000 flight to probably go back home or go somewhere else. So I'm pretty much stuck. I'm pretty much stuck. You lose you lose the ability to travel once you take less money to live in a third world country. But Trouble said, I cut my frequency of taking trips, now focusing on the end goal. That's good. Pension, 401k, IRA equals models and bottles for life. Yeah. He said, don't forget about brokerage accounts. OW said, what a man does with his Johnson money and passport is his business. He could stay stateside and do for worse. That's true too. That's true too. But we gotta consider though, who do you want leading younger men or influencing younger men too? You know, um, I got a adult son. I don't. It's certain people I wouldn't want influencing him. You know, so yeah, everybody got a right to move how they want to move. You know what I mean? But you know, being an influencer, we have to we have to we have to police that to us. We have to police. I'll put it like this: you don't even have to police. There has to be people that bring a different argument or a different conversation. We can't have everybody, you know, fitting the same description. You know what I mean? So just like we got rap music, and there's some rap music people think is not cool. So instead of attacking the rappers where you think they rap isn't good for people, you become the rapper or find other rappers that spit a better message that you think is a better message. So I get all that. But yeah, I would rather be broke in the United States for obvious reasons. For obvious reasons. As far as living goes, right? Now, there are times where, you may be unemployed and you're receiving unemployment. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense to be overseas while you're looking for a job because your rent in the US might be too high and you might pay the fraction of a cost to live in another country. So yeah, it makes sense it makes sense to be overseas on a temporary basis if you're receiving unemployment or unemployed. Um, but to just decide to just live overseas full time unemployed, it's it's not a good look. It's not a good look. It's embarrassing. I've heard guys in certain countries, men homeless. This is like all race. This is all races. White guys, black guys, everything in between. You know, you don't want to be an expat begging people for money when people come to when people come to town, or always got your hand out or something like that. Like that's not a good look, especially if you are a content creator. You know, so this is more about content creators. You know, what I mean, people gonna make mistakes, and people have their mental health to think about. Some people just mentally probably just can't be in the states. But home, there's always you always gonna be able to get yourself back on your feet back in the U.S. You know, Buck said none of the big content creators are talking about how to retire early and live off the fruits of your labor overseas. Everybody talking about women in these countries. Yeah, it's a distraction. It's a distraction. People want you to spend money with them, but they not really showing you or telling you how to get to the money. The most easiest thing is working a 9 to 5, right? I mean, most people gotta work to eat. So you don't really have to tell guys something as common sense as working a regular job. You know, is really how you make more money or how you create more time to travel. You know, if you want to make more money, most of the time you might have to get more education, and that's what consultations. That's what I would appreciate giving guys consultations on giving them a plan. You know, I could get I give guys consultations on certain cities I've been to, and that's cool. But I would really get fulfillment out of giving guys counsels, giving guys a map on based on what they want to do, based on their skill set and their experience. They say, I want to. This is where I want to be in 5 to 10 years. I would love to give consultations on putting that road map together, because everybody road map is different. There's no one size fit all. New free mixtape. He said you can watch fire channels if you want to retire early. Um, Somebody put me on the Nomad Capitalist. He, he has some good content. I haven't watched a lot of his content, but even though there's channels out there like that, people aren't really searching for those channels. You know what I mean? They want to kind of get the game from people that they're already watching. Unless you got like, some people are good at having guests on their panel and talking about certain things. So that's good. Once in a while you'll see some of these bigger channels, they may interview a guy talking about crypto or talking about credit and stuff like that. And then that's how people get exposed to other people. But for the most part, it's not enough of that. I tried to do a credit series, but it really wasn't getting a lot of traction because don't really understand why having credit is important. They're not going to understand it until they're ready to they're ready to obtain something. So I think I would like to get a better understanding of the type of the 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 subscribers and people that watch the travel space. Like what is their end goal? Are they trying to be expats? or are they just trying to travel? They're just trying to travel and just have a entertaining lifestyle, outside the U.S. Because a majority of people can't be expats anyway, so for obvious reasons. But if we go to the obvious, then most people that watch the travel space, they just want to be passport bros. They're not trying to be expats. They just want to be able to know where to go, have a good time. A lot of people ask me, you know, how do you have more time to travel? Because some people only get 2 weeks a year. I mean, most jobs give 2 weeks a year, if that. And so some people want more time of the year to travel. And, I always talk about that. New Free Mixtape says Skylar was doing budgeting consultation years ago. Okay, that's good. He said, I haven't heard any YouTubers, creators talk about the stock market this year. The market is going bananas. NVDA stock has been on fire for over a year and did a 10 for stock split and is number one is taken. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not an expert in stocks. I understand it, but that's not my investment strategy. But I know there are guys that are very savvy in stocks. Some are very savvy in crypto. I'm more of a real estate. Mine is more real estate. But it's different ways to skin a cat. It's different ways to skin a cat. But yeah, a lot of men, especially black men, during the pandemic, made a lot of money in in trading, online trading, whether it was forex, whether it's crypto with Bitcoin, whether it's stocks. I was kind of um, amazed to hear about so many men that was getting money with that. Christopher said the flyboy seems to give good direction on buying properties and working his regular job to set himself up for retirement. Yeah, yeah. I've seen we've been on streams together before. He's talked about recently just saying like, he's not gonna just drop everything and live in another country. It doesn't make sense. There's exceptions to the rule now. Um, you know, somebody I knew, he had financial, basically bankrupt in the US. Like he really was in like financial turmoil. And he moved to another country, built credit in their country, built, built cribs and started a business. So he's doing well for himself. You know what I mean? But he had those skills, he carried those skills to another country and he perfected it. But some people do have dire situations where it's just better for them to just leave. So I do get that. And maybe it's some people that just don't want to share that information on YouTube on whether why they can't go back or bridges they burnt in the U.S. I'm not one of those channels that go digging and digging, but there are people that go digging about people and then they find out like, I see why this person is not here and that. But that's not really my angle. Global paper said Vanguard, Fidelity, and T. Rowe Price index funds will set you free. Max your 401k or 401b out of make sure you contribute to yearly maximum into RA and HSA. I always say miles and bottles for life. Yeah, I mean, some people gotta have a job or worked enough to have a 401k. you know, yeah, because it might not apply to a lot of people, especially people that was probably like contract workers or independent contractors. They pretty much got paid like without, they got to pay their own taxes. They get a what is that, at the end of the year, a 1098 at the end of the year. basically they're not W-2. They're not W-2 employees. He said, "Do you watch Carl Pierre?" No, no. I never heard of Our Rich Journey either. Let's see. Um. So yeah. So what I was gonna get at being a broke, being a broke expat. So YouTube, YouTube was when I was on Scholar Stream, and I asked him. I said, "Well, everybody can't work IT. Everybody's not going to do military." And he said, "Well, you can do YouTube." Well, we see where that's going. We see where that's going. You know, it's it's not it's not looking it's not some people say it's not really looking too good. You know, why why YouTube doesn't bother me is because I work. I mean, this is a side hustle. If I'm able to get I have goals that I have set for myself, but for now, everything is about building. Everything is about building. You think of shout out to the homie International Zoe. Like he had a business, a barber business. He probably I mean he started as a barber, young barber. A lot of barbers they save up money, get their own shop. The shop get popping. Maybe they may franchise the shop or whatever, but it's a slow build. These guys, 20 years in the game, military, you built that. You built that. You know, me being able to buy my first property like that was that's building. You know what I mean? Like everything takes time to build. But shout out to Drew G in the building. What's good, man?
What's good? No excuse.
Nothing much, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, brother. I have got something to share with you. And do you mind going to someone else's channel and pulling it up?
Uh, I'm on my phone, so it
Okay.
might be kind of hard for me. Unless I could allow you to share your screen.
If I can
Uh,
if I drop you the link, you can pull it up. You should be able to.
Let me see. I haven't. Let me see. I'm on StreamYard on my phone. Are you on a computer or you
No,
on a
I'm on my
phone?
phone also.
You on your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be. I don't know. I can't. I won't be able to do it while I'm on my phone. If you wanted me to like, if you wanted me to like pull up a video or something, it'll be. I
Okay.
wouldn't be able to do it.
Okay. Well, I was gonna tell all you guys, go to the brother Carl Pierre's website on his YouTube. There's a
Mhm.
brother named Carl Pierre. He talks about investing in properties abroad. He's very successful at. Looks like he's very successful at what he's doing. And a matter of fact, if you look at like, it's like 3 videos back. It was like 13 days ago. He just dropped a video about taking fellows or anybody over to Italy and showing them how to invest in properties in Italy. He's bought several properties, I think, in Italy. He's bought several properties in Medellin, all over. He's a married guy too. Talks about a lot of investing. There's also, I mentioned in the chat, Our Rich Journey. Our Rich Journey, they are a black couple that do fire.
Mhm.
They actually left the United States and they live an expat life in Portugal. I think they originally moved out to the countryside, but if you look at their videos, you'll see they bought a house in the countryside, and then they bought another Airbnb. I think they bought several Airbnbs, but they recently sold all of their properties on the countryside and moved back into Lisbon. But there are a lot of great black um, YouTube creators out there. And I think that, a lot of times we don't share this information with each other, or we share it, but everyone kind of doesn't follow up on it. But I would suggest everyone to look up Carl Pierre
Okay.
and he's got a video that says, "Come with me to Sicily." And then there's Our Rich Journey, and Our Rich Journey is like I said, another black couple. They do fire.
Now you got to understand too. Not saying you don't, but people you have to understand that if they hear that information, some people might not pick it up all the way. Like some people, you might have to. It might have to be broken down slow because to get there, there is there's a foundation you have to have. Because I
True.
could because I could have I could get a lot of investment ideas, right? And
Right.
somebody can say, I know guys that got ideas right now, and they say, okay, no excuse, you need 25,000 if you want to invest in this.
True.
And I'm like, okay, I don't have liquid 25,000.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? And so so you could get it through credit, or if you got an asset, you can borrow against that. And so people need to still, they still got to have the foundation and basics. Like what to invest, you need money or credit or both.
Yes. Yes. You're absolutely right, man. I think in some cases, um, we miss a lot of people may have missed these boats. And when I say miss these boats, the property crash or the real estate crash of 2008, 2009, 10, 11. If you bought a house back then, probably 10, 11, 12, you're sitting on a gold mine of equity. Um, and if you sold your house, let's say during the pandemic,
Hmm.
2019, 2020, you
Hmm.
made a killing in money. And
Hmm.
also if you went out to buy a house during that time, you were looking at interest rates at like in the twos.
Hmm.
So those I mean I don't know what everyone's level in here investing is, but it's kind of challenging right now. The interest rates are really high. Property is really high. You know,
Right.
I remember I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he was telling me how I asked him how much his father paid for his house back in the days. And he said, yeah, dad paid $25,000 for this house. I was like, wow, 20, but the interest rates were high back then. 25,000 was a lot of money.
Hmm.
And I was like, man, that's unreal. 25,000, and the house is paid for, of course. Now, it's been paid for many years. But you
Right.
know, those are the things when there's. I think Warren Buffett says it. When there's blood in the street, that's when you should be investing.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. I mean, when the investors love recessions, they
Yes,
love it. They love it. You know,
crashes.
Trump said the most gangster shit one time. He said, "You know why I like he said, I didn't mind having having debt." He said because when the economy crashed, my debtors are going to want to they're going to be so strapped for cash that they're going to want to settle for me at a fraction of the cost. I was like, that's gangster as hell.
Yeah, but I think too, man. One of the greatest things about the travelers and expats and stuff like that is that I think if you go to these countries, even with a minimal investment, and you go to a country that is somewhat business friendly, and they don't make you jump through a whole bunch of hurdles, and you can start a business. There's
Right.
business that you could bring to these some of these countries that that you see right here in America, and like, man, you could make a grip of money.
Yeah, you right. I don't know if you I don't know if you follow like Thailand travel content, but um I had yeah, Zoe had told me about the black guy that got a restaurant in Pattaya.
Hmm.
And I went to this brother, and a couple of guys been promoting him too, like Zoom and the other guys there. But he got a restaurant in Thailand, a soul food restaurant. I went to the Google reviews. I seen the pictures, and a lot of YouTubers reviewing. Like he got some great. Everything looks great. And a couple of people interviewed this brother,
Kicking
but
chicken.
no, it's called Culture with
Okay.
a Q.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna check it out when I go to Thailand in a couple months, man. But he talked about his story. Um And, he was military. He got a college education, and he traveled a lot. And then he figured out that there's a need in Thailand for you know American food, or stuff that a lot of the brothers eat. Chicken and waffles, and
Right, right.
all that stuff. So, and he doing good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like last night on the panel. I think we both were on where the brother was saying that the restaurant in Medellin was gone, and he said that was kind of like a hub for everybody to kind of meet up and get your food fix right there. Um, I've never been there, but he was talking about. I was like, so it doesn't exist anymore. So there's opportunities abroad. You just got to be willing to stay there and willing to grow that business there. Most of us, I guess speaking for myself, is if I went to go live abroad, I'm not looking to create any business. I'm just looking to stay there and enjoy the lifestyle.
Right,
I don't want to work.
right. No, no, I get you. Let me read this real quick. Paul said, if you bought a house in 2019, 2020, you still got a ton of equity. That's facts. There are some opportunities in real estate. You have several major cities like, yep, Baltimore. That's true. Detroit.
True.
You can get cheap houses. I'm gonna tell you, like my home, right? Now, somebody said I was capping when I mentioned this somewhere else, but and I bought my home. Well, I'll just say this: my loan was about 200,000, right?
Yeah.
And this is in Philly, and so my tax assessment was like a little bit under. The city assessed my home maybe like 150,000, right? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So basically, I'm upside down from a tax perspective, right? This was in 2020. My tax assessment now is like 450,000.
Oh wow.
450,000. So I have almost 250,000 in equity in what's that, 4 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
That's
only
incredible.
gonna go up.
Yeah, you hope it does. You really hope it does.
Yeah, I hope
Um,
it does.
yeah. Hope that there's no, nothing that will bring down the neighborhood or anything like that, or crash or something like that. I live in, I go back and forth between Hawaii and Las Vegas, and I went to a neighborhood out here in Las Vegas one day, and I was getting a golf club, and when I was out there, I went up to the guy's house and I was like, hey, introduce myself. And he said, yeah, I got the club. And I said, hey, was there a golf course out here? He said, yeah, there was. At one time, we bought this house and, we paid a lot of money for this house, but the owner of the golf course died. And everybody's equity plummeted because we're all living on a lush green golf course, sprinklers and everything. And lo and behold, somebody one night went out and burned the clubhouse, and it, he's like, it's just been a nightmare. And those are the things, man. In certain places that you live, you just never know what might happen.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's true. But there's always, I ain't gonna say it's always, but you gotta hedge your bet too.
Yeah,
You
agree.
gotta you gotta hedge your bet. That's why it's like, well, like you said, anything, you can have an asset, it could go south, but if you leverage that, if you leverage that to get another crib, or if you leverage that to increase, to get business credit, because I'll put people on some game, even YouTubers. So any YouTubers listening to this, so this is some game on business credit. Now, um, like my YouTube channel, all goes into a business account, right? And so to build a business profile, if it's set up correctly, when them banks see those deposits every month, they start getting confident. Okay, he's bringing in this amount of money. Maybe we could start him off with a small line of credit. You know, if you got a rental income, you have your rent, have your rent deposited into that business account. So those deposits help build your business profile. Some people probably got YouTube channels and they're just probably depositing into their personal bank account. So you're losing on having that deposit history if you're having it deposited in your personal bank account, and then not to mention the tax benefits and all that stuff. So while you have some of these guys, these young guys that's traveling overseas, you know, like they're the king of the passport bros, you know, they don't even probably understand a lick about taxes, leveraging that, using business credit. You know, some of these guys started out making $10,000 a month, and now it's probably gone down to maybe $2,000 a month. But if you would have had mentors or took advice, you probably would have been able to leverage that situation now to where you're telling your audience, you know, your first real estate purchase in whatever country, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
So
I
it
don't know,
it's
man.
a
You know, that's the scary thing is that I look at a lot of the younger guys out here, and I just hope a lot of them are really trying to build something um, for to for the future. Just because, um, you know, there's that old story. It's an old child story about the cricket and the ant, and you know the ant was building his storages for the winter, and we
mhm.
all gonna have winter in our life. You know, as we get old, that's our winter. And um, the cricket, I think, or his grasshopper, it might have been the grasshopper was playing the whole time. And a lot of our brothers out here are grasshoppers playing, but the winter of their lives is coming. So you know, I think that's I look at I try to look future wise and try to plan ahead for the future. And I just say I hope and pray that some of these young brothers try to do the same.
I lost. Hello.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
I
okay.
just say I hope and pray that some of these younger brothers try to do the same.
Yeah, I hope so too, man. It needs to be more. There has to be a balance between entertainment and and education, you know, and game. Now, in the meantime, like I said, in the meantime, especially if you need to travel, you know, some people say, well, I don't need to travel to every country or a lot of countries. You don't. You know what I mean? If you find a country you like, cool. You know what I mean? But like I said in the beginning, you know, to me being a passport bro is finding, ultimately find a place that you love, that you can enjoy, and you know, it might become your favorite destination, maybe one or two countries. So maybe you don't have the money, maybe you don't have the credit, because you might not, you have to be motivated too. Like I didn't get serious about buying real estate until I was serious about wanting to really live overseas, or have the option to live overseas. So I didn't care about nothing these older guys were telling me.
Right,
But once you start traveling, and you might come across a lady or a culture of women where you really want to be there. And
right,
now and then you're gonna be like, okay, now I gotta put a plan together. So you know what I mean? So I don't want guys to feel pressure to do this or that. But at least if you're gonna be a traveler, at least try to identify countries or cities that you love the most, or you can see yourself building.
yeah. You know, I've traveled, but you know, I don't know that one place abroad that I want to live. You know, I quite enjoy Las Vegas. I enjoy it because I look at people who live here that are retired, and we're in a state that has no state taxes.
Mhm.
The weather is relatively good. You got 2 months out of the year where it's super hot, and like right now it's cooling down. So 2 to 2.5 months of the year that is hot. You can still buy an affordable home here. You can still find homes in the 350s, 400s. Um, you got, if you're a retiree, there's a multitude of things to do. Um, there's all types of shows. There's all types of concerts that come here. Entertainers, some of the people that you've never or have always wanted to see in life, they come here eventually sometime in their career. You know, my best concert. when I was living here for a while was seeing Sade. Like I always wanted to see her, and I finally got to see her leaving here. But
Mm.
I think there's still places in America that you can still enjoy a good life as being retired. You just gotta find them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I wouldn't mind retire. I always told people I wanted to do the reverse. I wanted to live overseas until I'm like 60 or 65 or 70 and then come back to the US and
Yeah,
live those latter years of the US, you know.
yeah,
Um
yeah. Because eventually, man, I'll tell you. So when I was living in Hawaii, I did a lot of my work required me to go fly between the islands a lot, and sometimes I would see a lot of older people flying over to Oahu,
mhm,
and it's early in the morning. That's normally the flight, and you see people injured or something like that, or sick or elderly people fly over to
mhm,
Oahu, and it was because the major services were over there, the major doctors and everything were on that part of the island. But as
mhm.
you get older, man, that's one of the things too. You gotta put yourself where you can have those have the ability to get to the services that you need, because you're gonna need to
Right,
go see doctors, and your health. We're all gonna get old. Our health is gonna get bad. You
right.
know, so you got to put yourself in that position, and also too, if you got children, man, you got to think about them too. They're
That's
gonna
true.
eventually one day they may be taking care of you, so you got to be in a position to maybe make it easier for them to care for you or see about you.
Yeah,
A
that's
lot of
true,
things to think
man.
about. A lot of things to think about, brother.
I think people should. I think home ownership is something that we don't stress enough. And I was one of those people that didn't see the value in buying a home. I'm like, man, what? 'Cause I made an ignorant statement years ago. I said, man, I said, if you got a mortgage, you don't own a home. You're still paying on the loan. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I had to realize that even if you're paying a mortgage, you got equity that you can leverage. You can
You got
sell.
equity, and also that is our largest expense in life, brothers. That is our largest expense in life. When you talking about, hey, I'm 50, whatever age, or 60 some years old, and you retiring 62 or 67, and you still carrying a mortgage with an interest rate in the sixes or whatever, that's $2,500 a month, that comes out of your retirement. That's you made a great statement about buying a home, because hopefully you can buy a home that you can pay off before you retire, because that's such a big chunk that's coming out of everything that you have. There's going to be a big chunk that's coming out your food. It's going to be you still going to have to pay for that. You're still going to pay for fuel, electricity, utilities, all these things. But because many of us didn't buy homes back when we were younger, now that we're older, we still got this mortgage that we're carrying, and I think that's a scary thought right there.
Yeah, yeah, but that's why you have to see. This is my advice, and this is why I made a great decision when I bought a property. I didn't buy a property in the suburbs where it's a single family house where it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes outside the city because I can't rent that to nobody. If renters want to be close to the city, um, and it's too much driving. So I made sure I bought a house in the city. My house has 5 bedrooms, so I can rent rooms, I can rent floors, however I want to do it. So, because this is the pitfall, and this is why you want a property that you can rent, or have a property where you can live and rent, live it and rent part of it, because when taxes go up, this is how a lot of people, black people, lose their property or forced to sell because gentrification. When taxes go up, especially if you live in the suburbs, this is why I'm against buying properties in the suburbs. When taxes go up, you know, you can't you don't have any renter to pass that cost down to. So if you got a single family home in a suburb, it's not a property that you can rent. Now you got higher taxes. You got a higher, now your mortgage is higher, and now depending on how high your taxes went up, it might put a financial strain. But like myself, my taxes going up every year, and I'm pissed.
Well,
But
see, brother, that goes back to my original statement of we got to figure out how to pay our houses off sooner rather than later, because just as you mentioned, your taxes, the property value is always going to go up. You're like, hey, yeah, it's always going to go up. Well, your taxes are always going to go up too. You want to be in a position where, hey, I'm not paying a mortgage anymore. I'm just paying the property taxes off this house, which are, I mean, we're going to say just a ballpark number. We say $10,000 a year. Okay, $10,000 a year, that's easy.
yeah,
But when you tack on $10,000 a year plus a mortgage payment, man, that's when things, like I said, you gotta really, and that's one of the things I tell people, you got to really look at trying to get your house paid off as soon as possible. And if you're married, work together. It's got to be a game plan for the both of you to
but
pay
it
that
gotta
home
be,
off fast.
or you rent, or you, it has to be something you can rent.
True,
It
true.
has to be something you can rent. Renters offsets those rising costs. Look at all the people in. I'm gonna ask you a question. Look at all the people in Chicago with the migrants, right? They was giving migrants a stipend of, I forgot how much a month, maybe like 5, 6 thousand, and so they got a voucher. They got rent vouchers. So if I lived in Chicago and I had a property, or I had an apartment unit, I could have made so much money from the city of Chicago because migrants had them vouchers, and they had 6 month vouchers. So
Hmm.
that's easy money, man. Um, Let me read this comment real quick. Purple Pill Richard said, if you have kids and you're thinking of being an expat, it's better to look into countries near the U.S. for proximity. Yeah, I agree.
I
I
agree
agree.
too.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't. I wouldn't leave my kids. He said, "What's your zip code?" I'll give you a neighboring zip code. I'm not going to just give my zip code, but I would say a zip code you could look at. Uh, 19120. One nine. No, no. 19122. 19122. You could look at that zip code. Style King said, my taxes went up on one of my houses, pissed me off. See, it's only a bad thing when you don't have a rental property. If you got a rental property, taxes go up. You're gonna let your tenant know, like, hey, rent is gonna increase. Rent
Right.
is gonna increase 2% or whatever,
Yeah.
and you keep it moving.
Facts. Facts.
You keep it
Yo,
moving, but
salute the traveling Tony. That brother right there. He's I don't know if you ever follow him, but man, he's
yeah,
bought a compound almost out there in Africa, and he's
yeah, that's
building a house and everything on it.
yeah, that's the homie, man. Yeah, he's building, man. He's building, man. See, the thing is, and I really didn't get to, you know, I had a hard time getting my wife to understand is that it takes time to build. Like you want to see all these things. You want to see me produce all these things overnight, and a successful man has to he has to build. He has to think about, okay, I have to rearrange my expenses. I have to make adjustments. This goal is going to take 5 years. You know what I mean?
Facts.
Some women can't process that this goal is going to take 3 years
Yep.
because of ABC. You know what I mean? But
I, I tell you, if you are a couple, if you have a girl or a wife or something like that, watch, sit down with them and watch Our Rich Journey. If you watch
okay.
this couple, man, and you look at how they work together and how they build and they sacrificed with, they got into house hacking, just kind of like you were talking about a minute ago, being able to rent out. And I did that, kind of still do it now with house hacking, except my focus is on the traveling nurses side of the
Mhm.
house. I don't really deal with long-term renters. I deal with traveling nurses. I live close to an area where there's a hospital, and if you haven't gotten into or don't know about that, you really should look into it. If you have a property near a hospital, traveling nurses are always looking for properties.
Mm-hmm.
Most of their contracts are 3-month contracts, so that means that you're doing 4 rentals a year, as opposed to, and there are 4 rentals a year. More than likely, your nurses are females. Most likely, they work 12-hour shifts, so they sleep a lot. They stay really clean. There's not much turnover, not much, headache and stuff with having a rental that you rent to them. So, yeah, look into that. Salute to us that nomadically speaking. What's up, brother?
Yeah, salute nomadically speaking, man. Yeah, this is one of the homies, man. We was actually in this WhatsApp group together called Level Up, man. And this brother is uh he's a content creator too. Uh, any mods can drop his channel if anybody any mods in the chat, man. But yeah, he's been working on container homes, man. But I'm gonna let this brother speak, man. Salute, nomadically speaking.
What's going on, man?
Nothing
Salute,
much,
brother.
man.
Chilling. Yeah, I just chimed in, man. I see you guys are talking about real estate, but just to kind of give an overview. 'Cause you were talking about hosting, doing a nursing. I have a corporate housing company, so I deal with a lot of oil and gas clients and a lot of travel nurses. So it can be very lucrative, and I met
Yes.
Rob. Yeah, I met Rob through a real estate investment group that we had with a good friend of ours. Rest in peace, man. He was a good brother. But yeah, man, real estate is a great way to make money and travel the world. But one thing we have to be cognitive of is the fact that real estate has changed a lot since post-COVID. So,
Facts.
having a rental property or Airbnb is not as lucrative as it was before COVID. So we have to be a little bit more sharper and ahead of the curve, because if we just have Airbnbs right now, we losing, we behind,
Mhm. Yeah.
and so you're right about the travel nurses, and if anybody's looking to do that, they have websites. It's one main one that's really popular, but
Um,
but
is it something like Finder? I forget.
is it
Um,
travel fine? I can't remember the name of it. I don't use it anymore, but it's
yeah,
next time we talk, I'll make sure I have it. But with the travel nurses, it's great. You just have to, man, you have to be able to negotiate with them because they don't have a big budget, right?
true,
And
true.
they are really good with keeping your property up,
Yes.
So I agree, man. I think that was a great point. But anyway, yeah. So my background is I'm a civil engineer. I've been in commercial real estate development for about 15 years. And now I'm building container homes just because I like it. I don't think it's like anything profound per se, but I am building wealth through tiny homes, and I'm doing great for myself. So, after COVID, I realized that a lot of people were going to bombard Airbnb. So I shut down my Airbnbs and decided to go into designer container homes, and it's been profitable. So
That's awesome,
I'll
brother.
land my plane with that.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
man. Yes, sir.
Yeah. What state? Do you mind if I ask you what state you're in?
I'm in Texas.
Oh yeah. Oh great.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed a lot of because I looked into some tiny homes. Being that I was looking to try to get something over in Hawaii. There are people who build them there. I think they charge a lot for them, but
Uh huh.
I just look for different ways to, maximize our property with even put more people on it. Because housing, that's, I will tell you guys, the one state in America that you're going to see people be permanent renters, it's the state of Hawaii because it's so expensive out there. Rent keeps going up, and a lot of it had to do with Airbnbs. Airbnb market pushed out a lot of long-term renters because, of course, the property owners at the time are getting that money quick. You know, you're talking about, hey, I'm having to deal with a family, and they're I'm getting the money once a month. But with Airbnb back then, they were getting some property was $10,000 a month, $8,000 a month. They were making more money to do Airbnb as opposed to having a long-term renter. But yeah.
Yeah, with the I say with my best month on Airbnb, I made about 45 grand. That's probably a
Yeah,
great month.
that's
And
awesome.
thanks, man. And with the just to give you this is with the tiny homes. One strategy I think has been pretty profound, especially with the mind of most people, is explaining to them, look, if you want to stay in a particular zip code, it costs this amount per square foot. Okay. Okay. So how you win with a tiny home is you get a smaller home. You pay
Hmm.
less money, not because it's a cheap home, because you don't have a lot of square footage. And that's really the only way to sell this to most Americans, because we've been kind of like socialized, especially in Texas. Big cars, dude. You got people riding around in SUVs by themselves. You can't get somebody to not want a big home unless you get them to want to be in a zip code where they get less square footage, but they're at least close to where they want to be. And that's really the only way to sell a tiny home to a Texan.
Thanks. Hey,
I'm,
fellas, I
I'm
got to drop off the panel. I'm about to go out. It is Saturday night in Vegas, so I'll see you guys in another live.
all right,
For
bro.
sure. Have a good
All
one.
right, take
Appreciate
care.
you. Yeah, I'm gonna give another nugget, man. If you're looking to buy, if you're looking to buy real estate, and this is what I focus on. So, when I worked for the city, I'll put it like this: when I first moved to like Philly, I was living in New Jersey because New Jersey and Philly borders each other, and so I got a city job. And the city was like, if you work for any city, they say, well, you have to move within the city limits if you want to work for the city. So I was like, damn, okay, I gotta live in Philly. And what that made me realize was like, damn, you know, that's a market. That was a market idea for me because now it told me that people that work for the city, they're gonna need places. They're gonna need a place to stay in the city. So instead of me having a property in the suburb, let me make sure I get a crib within the city limits because there's always going to be people that need to work for the city that have to be in the city limits. And so my advice would be is if wherever you live in, whatever state you live in, it's better to buy within the city limits because you're always going to, especially if it's an investment property, because you're going to have people that have to live in the city for their job. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So give us your take, man, on being broke. Being broke overseas versus being broke in the U.S. Is one better than the other? Um, what's
Yeah.
your thoughts on that?
Man, I never thought about that. I don't want to be broke in either place. Um, you know what I mean? But I think that as much as we like to like downplay America, I think you have a lot more ability to make money in America than you do in any other country. So I
Yeah.
would, if I'm going to choose a location to be, poor, it would have to be America. But man, I don't ever want to think about that. That's like a nightmare, bro. Uh, so yeah, that's my take on that, man.
Cause I want to try to uh mute your mic real quick. I think it got some static background. I can hear myself. Um, I it, I want us to give like some hope. Because let's say if you're making $50,000 a year right now, right? And you know, right now house prices are too high where you can't afford the affordability. You won't meet the affordability requirements for a mortgage. So if you're making 50 to $60,000 a year, what what can you do? What's the where can you start if you want to own property or if you want to build your credit? And so one thing I was thinking about is that if I was in that situation, is that I know that there are countries like, let's say, Colombia, any country, right? Like I'm gonna use Kenya for example, right? A lot of these countries have these projects, these pre-construction projects. You know what I mean? Now there is some risk with it, but if I was making like 50, $60,000 a year and I knew that right now I couldn't afford to buy a home in the US, I would I would probably invest in one of those pre-construction properties because a lot of the times the setup is that you might have to put like 10 to 25% down, and depending on the terms, they may give you 3 to 5 years to pay it off. So if you found like a nice little condo or townhome, let's say they were selling it for like 50,000, if you're making $50,000 a year and you just got to put up $5,000 and then a monthly payment is probably like, $300 to $400 a month, you can pay off a crib overseas in 5 years with your US income. And so you don't you know what I mean, now you have something, you have a home that you could call yours, whether even though it's not in the US, overseas. So you can still leverage, if you make 50, 60, whatever in the US, you can find projects overseas, um, to invest in, and you utilize content creators that are familiar with those cities so they can, assist you to make sure that, the company is legit, and things like that. So I want guys to kind of use people in these spaces, get counsel, I mean, consultations is good if it's going to improve your life situation. You have to consult with people that you feel is knowledgeable. um it's cool to super chat somebody $20 or $50, but I would rather give somebody knowledgeable $50 to help me make money than just to give $50 just to see my comment pop up on the screen. But what's your how would you advise a man that's, let's just say he's making 50, $60,000 a year and he wants to meet these goals, like how would you kind of advise that person?
Am I still echoing?
No, you good.
All right, cool. Now, man, that's interesting. I think that I like the strategy that you have is taking the cash and investing in a property abroad is pretty cool because you will forever have a place to stay, if things get bad in America. And I don't know, that's a great strategy. I this from a long term perspective, I don't know how how much money can be generated from the property, but it will allow you to have a place to lay your head no matter what. A guy that's invested in another country while living in America, he's gonna have to be dedicated to actually going to where he said he's going because he's invested his money. And I don't know. It's not a lot of sure guys within the travel space. A lot of these
Right,
guys they move with the tide, right? So
right.
if everybody's going to Thailand, they're going to Thailand. When they go to Kenya, they go to Kenya. But I think if a man has his own goal and where he wants to be, and he invests that way, I think that's an amazing strategy. But
Mm,
that's a different type of guy right there, man. And typically those probably would be an older guy. You know,
mm,
but I think it's a great strategy. I don't, from I guess, an investment perspective, I don't know if it would generate revenue, but it would definitely allow you to have somewhere to stay, once you leave America, but another thing, and man, I think we've had like private conversations about this, but another strategy would be to uh, get in the NACA program and try to work on getting your own home in America using that, finding a home within your price budget and renting that out, finding you somebody that's on housing or somebody like that, and then having that rental income coming in. So everything to me kind of always goes back to American money. I like
mm,
the American money. I personally would never want to go to another country and lean on their economy to feed me because It's just we go to those countries because it's the lower cost of living. So that means everything's cheaper. So if you have a rental property, it's going to be cheaper than it would be in America. So my strategy is to invest in America and live abroad, overall. But even with that being said, I do have a project that I'm going to be doing in Brazil.
Mm,
But I'm going to be catering to rich Brazilians and rich Europeans. So yeah, man, it's I'm all over the place with this, but I think a guy that's making 50 grand would do himself a better service to find a property in America that he can rent out and find a long-term renter who's housing or some type of long-term strategy. That way he has income coming in every month, and then he can take that and add it to the cash that he has and find somewhere else, and live his best life, man. But I'm also a different type of person. You know that too.
now, what do you think about reinventing yourself? As far as like, if you're in your 40s, starting a new career path.
Oh yeah, yep. I think Theo. I don't know if you know Theo, but he teaches guys how to get into like basically online, making money online, and I think it's a great idea. It is very risky, but if the worst thing a man can do is be miserable in America with no options. And what I would do is I would work my $50,000 a year job and then be taking classes to get me some type of online certification so that I can make money anywhere. And then I would do the both of those until I become extremely well at the online gig. It may take 3 or 4 years. And then I would leave my 50K job and go find a place where I can stay off $1,500 a month and live the rest of my life. You know what I mean? So, I think I heard you say that earlier. It is very risky, and yeah, if you make six figures, it's gonna be hard to pivot away and then get like some online gig where you make 40 or 50. But you don't pay taxes when you don't live in America, and you won't
Right,
have stress, and you probably could take 2 or 3 online jobs to supplement the fact that you don't make six figures. You know what I mean? So,
right,
yeah.
right. Now, a lot of people been talking. Hold on, I'll mute your mic real quick, bro. A lot of people been talking about like the end, like they've been raising the question like, what's the end game or what should be the end game for travelers? I mean, I can't answer that because everybody is different on what they want their life to look like. But the minority, people that make six figures are in the minority. People that are retired military are in a minority. People that know IT are in a minority. Even people that are successful in YouTube are in a minority. So, but the majority of brothers are going to be, middle average earning brothers that can travel sparingly. And when it comes to travel, it's a high. You come back home, you cool, and then you start having withdrawal symptoms. So it starts to become this never ending cycle, and you're never fulfilled. So when it comes to dating over, I mean, when it comes to having a uh, healthy relationships with women, and overseas is the better option. Um, how I guess how can that itch be or that thirst be quenched if you are never going to live overseas, if you keep having those withdrawal symptoms every time you travel? Because some guys been doing this 5, 10, 20 years over and over, and it's fun. It's fun when you having fun, but when you come back home and then now you on a computer looking up flights and stuff like that, it's like, where, what is the fulfillment going to be like? What you know are guys waiting for women into the US to change, for things to get better to the US? Are guys going to decide, what, I'm going to just bring me a chick to the US? I used to be opposed to it, but you know it's going to be a reality for some guys. Is that going to be it, or is guys just going to travel go back and forth until the day they die. I don't know. What's your thoughts on all of that?
Man, that I don't know. It's another great question. If a man is he's a $50,000 a year guy, and he travels once a year, he probably should, and a lot of us fall in this sector too, is lie. I mean, lie to yourself. Enjoy the 2 weeks like it's forever, and then come home to reality. But but you got to know that you're a liar, and you cannot financially leave because you haven't set yourself up to actually leave. I think guys that lead women on and know they can't come back for another year or two, I think those guys are pretty lame, personally. But what can you do? I mean, you kind of like have a limited options, right? So I just think guys should do whatever they can within the confinements of what they have. I don't, nothing you can do. And, some guys ain't never leaving a job, bro. That's all they know how. Like some
Right.
guys are truck drivers with much respect. My brother's a truck driver. I got siblings and family members that are truck drivers. But if that's all you want to do, you're never leaving America. You're gonna have to retire as a truck driver. Best option you got is to enjoy the 2 weeks and come home. That's it.
Hey, well put, man. Enjoy the 2 weeks. Come home and get that bottle of Jergens, man. I got Mr. G in the building, man. What's good, man?
Good evening, fam.
Good evening, man. Good evening, man. What's good?
Yeah, much, man. Just chilling, man. I noticed you were on. You talking about this quite interesting angle. You're touching, and I don't think that angle people actually enjoy talking about it because it's that bitter. That's the bitter part of that reality, right? I have an OG I'm friend with, right?
Mm,
He's lived in DR for many years, like 10 plus years, and he's now back in the States with his wife. And he always tell me this shit, man. Um, passport bros, they traveling. He's an OG. He's like 60 some years old. He's like
mhm,
da da da. He's like, how much money they're wasting. Not that he's opposed to traveling, but what he's trying to point out is that it takes a lot of money. If you're gonna be an expat, go ahead and be an expat. And if you're gonna do what you're gonna do, it's very interesting you touching that angle because a lot of people be like, "Oh no, the states, corrupt your woman, bring your woman back to the states." I mean, I agree, that's true, but not everybody, like you just said. Everybody can be an IT guy that work remote. It's very, it's very few numbers. Unlike the reality that, unlike what people say on YouTube, the reality is very few people can be IT bros. Very few
mhm,
people are military. I mean, that's in the minority. Very few people are military veteran like myself. And even if you are a military veteran like myself, there may be other things that sort of force you to, not be able to be an expat. So these are the things that guys have to talk about because you spend a lot. It's a lot of money that's spent traveling.
mm,
I
mm,
mean,
mm,
Rob, yeah, no excuse. You know that. I mean, I know you do travel too, and I've been lately thinking. I'm like, damn, this brother's going on another trip again. I'm like, are our brothers really making that much kind of money like that? I mean, it costs a lot of money. Average trip gonna cost you at least. Let's say you go to DR. Average trip, if you're not a cheap guy and you actually make decent money, average trip you spending at least a good $25,000-$3,000 easy.
mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
and times that by 3-4 times out the year, you're looking about like 10, at least 12, 15 grand.
Yep.
And that's money you've gotten paid after taxes out of your check.
Valid point.
You
And
know
if
what I'm
you ain't
saying?
got and if you ain't got no business, you can't even deduct that from your taxes. So you really lose.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, well, even then, I mean, Yeah, there's major technicalities with that. People like to throw that stuff around. Oh, you get a business, I got a business, I did taxes, and I used to do taxes. The amount of numbers you have, some of these deductions and things of that nature, they're not even made for like common people that got a little LLC. Us, these things are made for companies that got some heavy. If you're ever on a tax software or you're doing your taxes, try to play with those numbers. Like play with the donation numbers and see. Put like $3,000 in there and see if that thing bring down your taxes. It doesn't. You need to have max. I used to have a tax preparation firm. I'm telling you, you have to put
That's the truth.
heavy numbers in those blocks. You know what I'm saying? So it is a lot, and this is why at times I bring up uh, um the conclusion. What's the conclusion of us traveling? And I know guys don't want to talk about it because guys, sometimes they take trips, they enjoy doing what they do, whether it's play for play or GFE, whatever the heck kind of term we got for it, right? I've done them to myself. I'm not trying to point fingers, but
Mhm.
however, wasn't it recently in the last 2 years, when there was some drama, people were saying, well, passport bros, we're traveling because we want a fit, feminine, submissive woman. We cannot find that in the States. So is it just to go find fit, feminine, submissive women to enjoy different fit, feminine, submissive boxes and come back home? Or is it to find a fit, feminine, submissive a woman that will collaborate, a collaborative woman, a cooperative woman to build something with, whether you expat and go build with her or whether you bring her here. That's that's a crossroad that at some point in time you will have to make that decision
Mr. G, you going out?
up. The prices in these countries are going up. So at some point in time, you will have to come to that crossroad and make that decision.
Now let me read this comment real quick. Purple Pill Richard, he said that's a great question. Bringing women back to the U.S. is case by case. I'm not for, but understand it. I'm not opposed to anyone. Now, I have my reasons for being opposed to it, but when I think about, especially when we're talking about the average brother, let's say the average brother that's making $50,000 a year, he doesn't own a home, he's renting, and for the most part, that might be his life until he retired. Now, bringing a woman to the States in that situation might not be a financial risk because, like these females say, how can we divorce you for your money if you ain't got none? You know what I mean? So, for example, you bring a woman to the U.S. and you're renting, right? You know what I mean? And let's just say, maybe she find a job or maybe you able to hold it down. If that if something was to happen, and let's just say y'all don't have kids, right? If y'all was to divorce, I mean, alimony is hard to get in some states. You ain't got to worry about her trying to get equity out your house. The only thing you dealing with is a broken heart, which a lot of us, we figured out how to deal with broken hearts for the most part. Some guys crash out, but that's another conversation. But you just dealing with a broken heart. So that's how I've approached I've approached relationships. Me, I protect my pockets. I protected my pockets in my current situation, and the only thing I would have to deal with is a broken heart. And you know what I mean. And traveling is the cure, is the remedy to get over that. So, um, what you think, nomadically speaking, are you exposing yourself financially if you don't have anything and you bring a woman to the U.S.?
No, I feel like if a man is broke or not doing extremely well, and he doesn't have much to lose, so go overseas, find you something beautiful, spend as much time as you can with her until she leaves you, because she probably will, and then just Chalk it up to the game. She gets American citizenship, you got her time. You know what I mean? Like, I think guys get too caught up in like this long term perspective of this beautiful woman is gonna love me in America, and probably not, because most guys ain't really got enough game and enough. They probably hella weird, and they probably don't live a really abundant life, right? So if they bring this woman back, she's gonna soon realize who she's dealing with. Is it her fault or is it his fault? So, you know, if I'm that guy, and not every guy that doesn't have money is this person, right? But I think a lot of that falls in what kind of man he is, right? What kind of man are you? Are you a fly dude that just don't make a lot of money? That's cool. You're probably gonna retain your woman in America. And if you lose her, you don't have you don't fall far because you're not that high, right? So a lot of guys be talking about they not bringing a woman back to America, bro. You ain't got nothing, bro. Like, and really, she lose, really, because she's super fine coming over here dealing with a dusty house, right? And then staying with this guy for a few years, and before she can figure out a way to leave him and get American citizenship, she deserved it. I just think guys need to stop the cap. Like, as they say, like, bro, you dusty, bro. And we got to start keeping it real, and that's my take on that.
Mm,
I
yeah.
like that.
So you shouldn't have. I mean, but then you shouldn't have kids then because you're gonna expose yourself financially for sure. You know what I mean? This has always been my criteria for bringing a chick to the United States. I'm 55, 60 years old. She's 40. She can't have kids, you know, and I ain't got to worry about her getting pregnant. You know what I mean? Some dudes are snipped up. Some dudes has got vasectomies and stuff like that. So if you're not
This.
trying to have kids, what you say?
Can I say this real quick though?
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
If a guy is broke and he gets a bad chick and he brings her back to America and he gets her pregnant, he's still winning because he was a loser before. So now he's got a bad chick as an ex-wife and probably a beautiful kid. What's the opposite? Lonely with Playboy or magazines around the house or some type of links to some websites, and poverty. I mean, you don't lose when you bring a baddie back if you really ain't got nothing going on in your life anyway. If you bring your chick back to small town Texas and you live with her for a few years and you have a child and she leaves you because she finds a Mexican drug lord to take her and spend money, you need to salute both of them because she's leveled up as she should, and hopefully you get to keep your kid with you, and then you go find you another one you know
Mm,
and that's probably the better way to look at it than saying, oh well, she's gonna take my $400 a month. You know what I mean? Like, bro, come on, bro, you broke, you stay broke. And then the guys with money know how to move a little bit different, so that if they do bring a woman back, they looking at it, what benefits she brings to me, and what am I gonna pay her when she leaves. Period.
yeah, I heard you only get. I'm not for sure, but I heard you only get two foreign marriages a limit. Somebody can confirm that, but I heard you could only do it twice. But uh, so you got two times. Let me shout out Uwafo, man. Appreciate the $10 super chat. He says great conversation, man. Appreciate it, bro. Hope all is well, man. Mm. So yeah, that's an interesting perspective, man. Like my goal has always wanted to give hope to the average guy that's making average money, you know, and for him to be able to have some happiness in this miserable culture in the matrix. Um, a lot of guys don't really I feel like they don't really talk to the average guy. Because like you said, nomadically speaking, I like what you said. You said if you get 2 weeks a year, take that, enjoy it, and just keep it moving. You know, keep it moving, man. Um, but yeah, Mr. G, man, you got anything else you want to add, brother?
But are these average guys when they go overseas? Are they going for average women?
Hell
Are you
no.
bringing the average women back?
No.
When I mean average, I'm not meaning a look only. I mean, I think sometimes I think brothers sometimes mess up
Mm-hmm.
because coming from where we're coming from, at we was just coming from a place of lack, you know, a place of lack in beauty that you're used to in the states.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's always this conversation too. People be like, "Oh yeah, when they go overseas, they're looking for baddies." I don't. Okay, I don't think that's true. Because what happened is the average woman, if you go to Colombia, the average woman in Colombia is a lot more beautiful than the average woman you're used to deal with over here. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So you're not. You'll be like, "Oh yeah, they go over there looking for dime." I don't think so because the levels are so trash here. By the time you make it to Colombia, you're dating 3, 4 points above what you used to date here, man. I don't think nobody's going to wherever they're going out looking for dimes. I don't think so. This conversation needs to stop because you're not. I don't think so because the average. Think about it. On excuse, you go to Colombia, DR, whatever. The average chick over there that works somewhere frying chicken is a dime, even though she's not a dime in Colombia. She is a dime comparing to what you're used to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't think dudes are going over there looking for the Colombian dime or for the Brazilian dime. Like, because by the time you leave the United States, the women you're dating is like 3, 4 points above the beauty level of what you used to here in the United States.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? But when I say average, are they going for the average woman? I mean, like, are you looking? Are these guys that go overseas? They go to Sosua and meet some chick over there, and then they bring it overseas, or are they meeting a chick that's like just a decent chick that want a good man to be with, a man that will be with her, a man that she done had a kid by that man, and that man is gonna be with her when her first baby daddy, they ain't do nothing and ain't coming through like that. So you have to take some time. You have to be patient. I will tell guys this: the best way, if you have a decent job here in the United States, if you cannot, you're not at the level where you can just expat, or you have some kind of IT job to just get out of here, whatever, or military benefits, have a child with that woman over there.
Mm.
I think that gives you some sort of leverageness. You know what I'm saying? Have a child with her, and she's a decent person. Then that gives you some time to observe her in a couple of years. And then after that, bring her and the child over here. The child is already gonna be a U.S. citizen. All you gotta do is go through the process, through the embassy wherever she lives at. The child, you get a passport for the child, and then later on, bring the woman over here. That way you guys can have something in common, some common interest to be together and build something together.
All right. Now I'm gonna throw out a closing question, man, for y'all, man. Let me read this comment real quick. Purple Pill Richard said, "To live abroad, you gotta know the foreign economies to make money. Most dudes not gonna take time to learn, so chances are they're staying in the U.S." No, that's a fact. So the clothing question is, I'll start with you, Mr. G, and then nomadically speaking. So the closing question is, should is there shame? Should guys feel shame if they fail overseas, whether they fail in a marriage, whether they fail financially, or even if you bring a chick to the U.S. and it failed? Should g- should because the reason why I'm asking this question is because I think a lot of guys are afraid to come back home to start over to regroup, or they're afraid to uh, to let to let their audience know that they failed at something. But you know, I think men should hold their head up regardless, because shit happened. But if you were talking to guys may that may have egos, that may be ashamed of failing overseas, what's your advice? And should they be ashamed, even if they were, you know, preaching these messages, etc. So I'll start with you, Mr. G, and then nomadically speaking.
Obviously, that's an easy answer. It's no. And when you look at I mean, first of all, I mean, it's just such thing as life, with relationships, right? And I think people, even in these red pill spaces, I think like the approach is like completely wrong. People be like, oh, yada yada. I mean, shit happens, right? It's just life. Um, you date people, and sometimes it doesn't work out, right? Such thing is life. Um, I, I be on like this in these groups. I'm in Facebook, whatnot, and I've heard stories where a guy was with a woman for 16 years. He brought her back to the States. That's a successful marriage to me. 14, 16 years, you made double digit in years. That's a success. If you bring a woman back to the States, you guys were married for 14, 15 years. That's the successful marriage to me. You know what I'm saying? Because you got people here marrying, two Americans getting married here in the United States. Their marriage don't even last 3 years. You know what I'm saying? So um there's nothing to be ashamed of. Some things work out, some things don't work out. You have to try not to, read too much into it and go crazy, because you could have been with an American woman, the relationship only lasts 3 years, 2 years, if even that long, right? So the same thing can happen with a foreign woman. And I think that's the thing that people have to, get in their mind. Like, the same thing that could have happened to you with that foreign woman could have happened to you with a woman here in the United States. However, your due diligence is on you. You have to do your homework. You have to do your due diligence. You have to observe that woman. You have to take notes. You have to really study that woman and see if you can build with her, test her, take time or whatnot. If you're just going over there, take a couple of trips, and then bam, you bring in a woman the next day, yeah, you're gonna have a problem. But there's nothing to be ashamed of. She's a human, just like the American woman here in the United States. The same
Okay,
way your relationship. Mhm.
what about going broke overseas and coming back home? And then I'm gonna pass it to nomadically speaking.
Yeah. If you're an expat overseas coming back home, uh, should you be ashamed? I don't know if you should be ashamed, but obviously you should learn from your lesson. Yeah, it is not something you want to walk around with a bull on. Yeah, guys, I fell. Yeah, guys, I mean, these stories now. Obviously, you must have a story that you know of. I would like to know about that story. I hit you on the back end, but um, that can happen. I see that happen. That will happen, especially, bro. You're gonna if it's a true story of something like that just happened. Guess what? Get ready. There about to be a lot more stories like that with this new wave of Passport Bro and expats and things of that nature. People overnight. They see somebody doing it. They see somebody on the beach in Brazil with some fine honeys. They're like, oh man, I'm gonna go and do it too. You about to hear a whole lot more of these stories, because dudes should do their homework, study the future, plan, strategize, make sure you have something secure. Other than that, it's gonna happen because you cannot work on those local economies. There's not one of these local economies. None of these dudes are moving to Europe and getting a job in Germany or in England. You
Uh,
ain't going to do it.
all right, let me read this comment, man, and I'm gonna get nomadically speaking, man. Appreciate you coming up. Let's see. Purple Pill Richard said the common man traveling going to remain in U.S. The exception are retirement checks, military pension, or laptop lifestyle. Being an expat is a major league for heavy hitters. That's true. That is true, man. Nomadically speaking, man, the floor is yours, bro. I appreciate the super chat too, Purple Pill Riches.
Yes, sir. About 10 years ago, man, I invested in a trip to the Maldives, just because I wanted to see how the other people lived, I guess the short version. On that trip, I seen this guy, grossly obese guy, probably in his late 40s, with a beautiful European woman and a young child. And I was so blown away that I just stared at them like a creep. I was with a bad chick. I was enjoying myself, but we were leaving the main island going to our, where we were going. And I kept staring at this dude, and I just I had to spark a conversation with him. I could tell that he was happy, he had money, and he had a young bad chick. All right, so pause that. You'll never see that happen in America, right? It's just not gonna happen. It's rare. So with that being said, a lot of guys are going overseas and they're having luck with beautiful women, but when they come home, they don't have the same luck, right? So the biggest L that an American man who is not having luck in America, the biggest L is staying in America and being unhappy, right? So anything you do outside of that is a win, even if you fail. It's the biggest fail is staying in America and being unhappy. So I think guys should jump out the plane, figure it out, go fall in love with a choppy adora for 4 years and fall on your face and come back home miserable and broke. I bet you it beats and it trumps staying in America. That's my take.
Man, that's a good way to look at it, man. Appreciate you coming up, man. Definitely want to see you come up more, man. Y'all subscribe to Nomadically Speaking, man. Very articulate brother, man. Business minded, man. And check out his channel, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, bro. Peace.
Thanks. All right, man. So there y'all have it, man. Appreciate all y'all tuning in, man. Definitely great conversation. The travel space was kind of boring tonight, so I was like, man, let me hop on a live and kick up a conversation, man. So, hopefully you guys are entertained, enlightened, and can have a good night rest, man. But I'm gonna tune in with y'all boys from Colombia, man. So see y'all in a little bit. Peace out.